Hello, I think this video is a little unexpected because I'm not supposed to be making them yet, but there were a few things I wanted to clarify with you. First of all, I'm still not off the sick list, but I'm doing well, and I want to thank my surgeon who was just amazing, my physiotherapist who's worked me hard every day, and I know very shortly I will be back in the refuge and back to normal. Then I want to clarify with you the happenings of the last few days, which personally have been very upsetting. A few ground rules. Anything I say which are factual, I will make it clear and they will be truthful. If I'm expressing an opinion, I will let you know I'm expressing my own opinion, nobody else's, and it will be based on an honest belief. So bear with me. I felt bound to tell you when a letter before claim had been served on me, because they attempted to serve in England in the UK and they sent it to the charity in the UK. And there is a very small window when you can discuss that, because if the claim itself is served, it's then a matter for the courts. So I'll tell you what I've done. The lawyers acting for Spanner very kindly advised me, as they always do in these sort of letters, to get independent professional advice. I took the view that if I put my professional head on, I would have been well qualified to write a response, and what I needed to do was try to be as independent as possible and write my response as if I was instructing a client, and that's what I did. Now, that didn't cost anybody anything. I am reassured by you all that if this matter did escalate and we had to incur legal expenses, which I hope we don't, that there will be enough support out there, because I give a solemn undertaking I will not use donors' money under any circumstances on legal proceedings, and I certainly wouldn't have instigated any without donors' knowledge and support. In terms of my response, which was set out very much as I would have done if I was practicing, I drew attention to the fact that some serious errors had been made. Firstly, I'm not resident or domiciled in the United Kingdom, and to bring a claim in the Chancery Division of the High Court in the UK, under the Defamation Act Section 9, you must be a resident of the UK or the EU as it was, or any country under the Lugano Convention, which of course Morocco isn't. The only way it could then be brought in the UK is if the court could be satisfied that England is the best and the only place really that the matter could be resolved, whereas I argued it isn't. The place to resolve this is in Morocco. Secondly, without going into too much legal jargon, I pointed out that as a matter of law, there are very strict time limits on the Defamation Act. And if you bring a claim, it has to be within a year. Now, as Spanner had said, it was posts that I had made between March 2020 and July 2021, and they were continuous in nature. The courts have to apply the first date, and March 2020 is out of time. So I'm afraid it's out of time. If they did want to continue and persist in the UK courts, which I can understand why, because there's often very good compensation in the UK courts. And of course, if you lose, your costs are paid. That doesn't happen in Morocco. But if they do, they would have to serve me in Morocco, and they would have to serve in accordance with the Hague Convention on the service of judicial and extrajudicial documents, or by a bilateral treaty. What I do know, because I have been involved before, is that it can take years. And is that a good use of members' money? I also reminded them that the Charity Commission advice is that you shouldn't enter into legal proceedings just because a lawyer tells you you have a good case, because there are other factors for charities, such as reputational damage. And there are other ways of resolving this. It's interesting, there was no comment about any post I'd made from Spanner itself, since publicly, which they were permitted to do, and that would have perhaps been the best way. And on one occasion, when I was contacted by the director in Morocco, who took some umbrage at a post that I'd made in good faith, I recognised that and removed the post immediately and apologised. So there are other ways of dealing with this. However, with the reassurance that you're behind me, I have made a decision. From here on in, I'm going to ignore it all. We will continue at Chartier as we always have. Clearly, we won't have the cooperation of Spanner, but then we shall just continue because not a lot appears to have changed. That is my personal view based on the evidence I've had. We have had cooperation from the director in Morocco, and very good cooperation over some individual instances where he has tried to assist, and I've always thanked him for that and publicly acknowledged it. But in terms of operating here in Marrakesh, we literally just carry on as we are. And by me saying that I don't want to put our finances at risk and we won't take any more admissions, I've rethought that. And you've seen the little soul that Ayoub and Abdania are bringing in now. How could I say we would ignore that? Of course not. Which, of course, finally brings me on to any matter of compensation. To bring a claim for defamation, particularly on Facebook, it has to be brought against the author, the editor, or the publisher. And I'm the author. I've acknowledged that, I've admitted it. Nobody else. No one has colluded with me to make any of the statements I've made. As a matter of law, Facebook are the editor and the publisher. So any action would be against me, and any remedy would be for me to meet. And the reality is, I don't have anything. We have a tract of really quite important, valuable land here, but it's owned by Charles, not by me. And it's not owned by the charity. It is rented to the charity for £1 a year on a 99-year lease, let me add. I have no assets in the UK save my pension, and that wouldn't go very far, I promise you. And I own nothing in the UK outright that is mine, and I don't own anything in Morocco. So I'm not a very good candidate to take to law. Perhaps I'm not a very good candidate either because I don't roll over. I won't be bullied. I won't be frightened by a solicitor's letter because I've been around long enough to know how solicitors write these letters. For God's sake, I'm married to one. And often they can be quite intimidatory. And it sometimes seems easy just to cough up. And of course, I've spoken to lawyer friends of mine back in the UK and a solicitor who I used to do a lot of work with over the years, who knows me well, said initially, "Oh, Susan, what have you done? Just apologise." Of course, then he read the letter and realised I couldn't. Because to apologise would mean that everything I'd said was for naught. And by agreeing never to mention Spanner's name again, they would have successfully put quite a tight wall around themselves where they would be immune from any praise or criticism. And to ask me to make the apology public and for it to remain on Facebook, of course, is a nonsense, because we could close the Facebook page overnight. So that's my position. I'm sorry if I sound a bit stroppy over it. I'm not. I will do everything I can to work with people who will work for the benefit of the most vulnerable in Morocco, whether they be human or animal. And I'm delighted that we are building up such very good relationships with some of the charities around Morocco, which can act as satellites to help when we can't get to another part of the country quickly. So I think that's all I want to say at the moment. I'm alive and well. I maybe can't walk very well at the moment, but my head and my brain are still functioning. And I suppose the advantage of the broken hip is I've had more time to think this through. And thank you to everybody who has sent such heartwarming messages, both in terms of my injury and the charity itself. We had wonderful visitors yesterday, and they said to me, and I think they've posted since, they saw us online and thought it was wonderful, but when they see it in the flesh, it's even better. And it's that sort of thing that keeps us going. A week ago, I thought, gosh, at our age, do Charles and I need this? Why don't we just sell up and go back to England and live in a nice little thatched cottage in Shropshire? But we can't, because we have made a commitment, and I don't make commitments lightly. So I hope you understand, and we'll speak again soon.